Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Carlson, and today's topic is torture light. We will go through a brief analysis of torture light in the light of consequentialism as the framework, which will be followed by a conclusive statement of whether or not torture light is morally acceptable, judging by the consequences of this torture techniques used for torture light. Torture is an act or practice of imposing excessive pain or suffering on somebody as punitive action, and it is mainly used to compel somebody to do or say something. Most of the time, torture is used by military personnel to retrieve time sensitive information. And in today's society, the traditional concept of torture is viewed as violent and brutal. However, what if there was a different approach to torture? Torture light is a form of torture that resorts to a less violent and mutilating means of finding information or compelling somebody to take certain action, meaning the victim is not being physically harmed, which goes against the traditional concept of what torture means. This form of torture has resurfaced the public eye and media since the events that took place on 9/11. And without further wait, I will explain the difference between what society knows as torture and what torture light presents. Torture light refers to a stress-inducing techniques that help retrieve information, with these techniques ranging from suddenly stressful to humiliating. It has been found that these techniques at times have worked even better than the traditional torture methods, meaning anything from body mutilation or physical harm to simply stress inducing environments such as extended sleep deprivation, forced standing, isolation, manipulating temperature from hot to cold, noise bombardment, also known as noise pollution, personal humiliation, and mock execution. Now that we know what torture light is and the techniques being used, we can now learn what consequentialism presents. Consequentialism is a moral framework that focuses on morality of actions based on the outcome. In other words, an action is good or bad solely based on the consequences. For instance, most people would agree that lying is wrong, but would it be wrong if it saved someone's life? In the light of consequentialism, this would be the right thing to do. So, out of all the moral frameworks, you may be wondering why consequentialism? Consequentialism is a straightforward point of view on actions and is found to be compelling for the simplicity of the framework. It is actually a great approach for this topic as it does not necessarily focus on torture or the negative connotation that the society has on torture, but focuses solely on the consequences that it brings. Now that we have been informed of the contemporary issue of torture light and what is a consequentialism framework and how something or someone is morally right or good, we can evaluate torture light in the light of consequentialism. Although stress-inducing torture techniques, also known as torture light, are not physically harmful in the moment, they cause serious consequences on a human mind and body that can potentially be irreversible. Some of the consequences are listed on the right, but are not limited to this description. Some of the major consequences of sleep deprivation are insanity and hallucinations, besides the other health factors such as hypertension, heart attacks, and strokes. Isolation can damage heart and brain health, besides increasing the risk of dying from a heart attack. Nearly every technique used by torture light induces long-term consequences that impair one's life. In the light of consequentialism framework on the contemporary issue of war and peace, and the scenario being torture light, it is fair to judge that it is immoral